Hold on to your ketchup, my friends. Donald Trump is losing it, and it's only going to get worse. Major panic. He's tried to downplay the significance of tomorrow's No King rallies, right? They're trying to act as if some bunch of flame throwing anarchists who hate America are going to be there. But they know damn well there is going to be a massive turnout. And he's been trying to, as I said, downplay it. But this morning he was on Fox News. It's only going to escalate his freak out. Let me play for you what he told Maria Bartiromo this morning.
Government shutdown is all about this rally that's happening this weekend, the No Kings rally?
No, I mean, some people say they want to delay it for a king. This is not a king. That. You know, they're referring to me as a king. I'm not a king.
Right. No, but just.
Ha ha ha. They're referring to me as a king. I'm not a king, he says with a big grin on his face. Okay, Donald, we're not buying it. Now, let me add, it gets darker than that. As you probably have seen, crazy Carolyn Leavitt, she is pulling out all the stops, meaning she's lying her head off. And I have to say to you, don't let this woman near your children. Like, she is, if you've seen the movie from the 1950s called The Bad Seed, she is like the young adult version of the evil monster blonde girl in The Bad Seed.
That the Democrat Party's main constituency are made up of Hamas terrorists, illegal aliens, and violent criminals. That is who the Democrat Party is catering to, not the Trump administration and not the White House and not the Republican Party, who is standing up for law-abiding Americans, not just across the country, but around the world. And that's
what is she even talking about? What is she even talking about, my friends? Tomorrow is going to rock. Let me tell you that the more Donald Trump and his cronies call out the date, the Saturday rally, this No Kings March, it's like free publicity. And I'm not the only one who noticed. You've got to see this hit last night with Ezra Levin, co-founder of Indivisible, and George Conway on with Chris Hayes. This is precious. Watch.
Also feel that there is an uptick in this energy to resist, to say no, and that no is a complete sentence and people are understanding that.
Chris, it's been incredible to watch this change. 11 months ago, the conventional wisdom was that Trump was all powerful. He was rolling in with a trifecta. There was no point in organizing to stop him. That's what we heard from institution after institution, universities, law firms, media institutions. You said it. And look at where we are now. On Saturday, there will be the largest peaceful protest in modern American history. Yeah, we'll be in Chicago. We'll be in New York. We'll be in D.C. We'll be in L.A. But gosh, we'll be in East Glacier Park in Montana. We'll be in Homer, Alaska, the little town that I grew up in, rural Texas. There are 3 in that county. This is in red states, blue states, purple states, rural areas, suburban areas, urban areas, and it's led by normal, everyday people. I think what we're seeing right now, it's something we've heard a lot, but what we're seeing in real time, in front of our own eyes, is this basic idea: courage is contagious, and it's spreading all over the country right now.
Courage is contagious, and it's spreading all over the country. Later in that clip, it was hysterical when Ezra said, Chris, when they were, Chris played one of these contemptuous comments that we have played on the show this week, where the Republicans are claiming we're a bunch of, flame-throwing anarchists. They showed the Scott Bessent clip we showed you the other day of the Treasury Secretary saying no kings means no paychecks. And Ezra Klein looked straight into the camera and said, Chris, I need to tell you that none of the organizers, have paid money to the Republican Party to promote this rally. As you saw that I just put up in the chat, Lisa Marie said, folks are going to show up just to see what the hullabaloo is about. And friends, just so you know, I don't know if you can see, you can hear the twinkling. At the end of the show for Crazy Town, I'm going to put on my inflatable octopus costume. If you want to stay around for that, let's hope it works on camera. Anyway, these people are utterly shameless. And it goes beyond them trying to malign those of us who are trying to stand up for democracy. It goes right to even the Epstein cover-up. I want to share with you the latest from Representative Adelita, or Rep-elect Adelita Gravella. And as you know, she has been elected, and she is her election has been certified to be a Democratic representative in Congress from Arizona. And Johnson will not swear her in. He's Speaker of the House, and he's claiming, well, he can't swear her in because the House is not in session. Well, apparently there's going to be what's called a pro forma session today. He could swear her in today. Not only that, previously, when Republican members of Congress have been elected and the House was not in session, maybe because of a normal break, he brought them back just to swear those folks in. So I want to play for you what Adelita said on Morning Joe yesterday about her situation, and then Mike Johnson's outright lies. Let's play this.
Where they'd had a special situation, the family was in town, but we're not going to call your family in town for this. So what do you think is behind this?
The excuses are very, depending on the day, they just keep changing. So one time it was that the race wasn't certified, and then where it's pro forma. And so then continue to highlight the hypocrisy of your rules keep changing. And so there was a whole freshman class sworn in when the government was shut down. So this idea that Congress is not in session is this speaker making that decision, this speaker changing all of the previously scheduled voting sessions. Mm-hmm.
So, Congresswoman-elect, what do you suspect then? If there's no good reason, what is the incentive for Speaker Johnson not to have you sworn in?
Well, the timing is the fact that I am the 218th signer to the discharge petition for the Epstein files. That is the only thing that I can point to that differentiates me from the other three people that were just sworn in recently from their specials. And when you talk about those issues and the fact that there is a lack of transparency from this administration, that I think is the only thing that we can all point to that makes me different from any of the others.
And you will be there on the Hill sooner or later, so you will continue to be that 218th vote. So that day is coming. It seems like they're just delaying it. Can I ask you?
Okay, so remember, the House could be in session. It's unrelated to the government shutdown. And Speaker Johnson choosing not to have the House in session means that the House is not in the process of trying to negotiate a way to open the rest of the government. In other words, you might remember the House passed legislation that is not getting through the Senate because Senate Democrats are calling bullshit on this budget, on how it's being funded. They're saying, no, we don't like the cuts to health care. This is going to throw people off their health insurance or make it totally unaffordable. We don't like that. And some are even saying, and we don't like the fact that this budget gives not just $170 billion, that's the sort of bigger number for immigration enforcement, but specifically of that, $75 billion over 4 years is the plan. So a chunk of that would come in this coming year to ICE itself, right? So there are lots of things to hate about these plans. And so the only way this is going to move forward is either if Democrats cave in the Senate or Republicans come to the table, negotiate something, and then it's got to go through the House as well. Well, Johnson has everybody at home. They're not negotiating anything. He is the problem, and it is because of the Epstein files. Whatever is in them is so damaging to Donald Trump, either personally or because of his funders, or because the people who are maligned, the people who are implicated criminally in these files, also have dirt on Donald. Whatever is going on here, it is so damaging that this is the delay. Okay, now let's listen to Mike Johnson dismissing this. Okay, let's play it.
It's been reported for a while. Ford Mills was accused of beating a girlfriend in his D.C. apartment. He was accused of stolen valor.
I'm sorry. There's something even worse. Let me first play. I've got 2 Mike Johnson clips. Let's play this. This is his chutzpah on with Jake Tapper, responding to his failure to swear in a member of Congress.
Right now, though, Jake, Rep. Grijalva she should be working for her constituents. I don't know what she's doing. I keep seeing their political stunt videos and they're knocking on the door and she's not there. She should be in her office. She should be working or in the district for her constituents. She's already hired 16 staffers. She should be taking constituent calls. She should be directing and helping them navigate the crisis that her colleagues here have created for her constituents. We're happy to administer the oath. We're going to do it as soon as we get back, but we got to get the lights on first. We got to make sure that our troops are being paid and our Border Patrol agents down in Arizona are being paid before we go through the ceremony of
administering her rights. He could walk over to her office with a Bible or whatever other way she wants to be sworn in. It would take a minute, number one. Number 2, priorities. He doesn't have a minute to go to her office, or she could show up at his and he could swear her in. Or on the floor of the House. He doesn't have a minute to read the oath of office. It would take less than a minute. But meanwhile, our government has time to not just bail out Argentina to the tune of $20 billion. They've added another $20 billion. We are now entering into a $40 billion swap agreement to basically take on pesos and maybe never get paid back to bail out the far right leader of Argentina so his economy doesn't fully collapse, to help him get reelected. This is the guy who had the chainsaw, who said he was just like Elon Musk. He was going to cut everything. His strategy failed. And so what are we doing? Bailing him out. We have the time to negotiate a $40 billion bailout for Argentina. But Mike Johnson wants us to believe he can't spend under a minute to swear her in. Secondly, what chutzpah. She cannot actually work for her constituents when she is not sworn in. She is maybe elected, but she has no actual legal authority. Okay. Secondly, according to her office, she doesn't have her government email set up. So it is not true that it's all on her to do her job. What a fuckwit if he thinks we believe that, but it's worse than that. This man who holds himself out to be a Christian, holds himself out to have values that he considers to be aligned with, I assume, Christ's teachings, actually had this to say about a representative in Congress who has been accused of battering, who was married and accused of violently abusing his ex-girlfriend. And what does Johnson have to say about this? Let's play it.
It's been reported for a while. Ford Mills was accused of beating a girlfriend in his D.C. apartment. He was accused of stolen valor by the people that he claimed to have saved on the battlefield that have been on the record said he did not save them. I mean, this has been happening since the beginning of the year. Are you concerned about these allegations against Corey Mills?
Look, you have to ask Representative Mills about that. I mean, he's been a faithful colleague here. I know his work on the Hill. I mean, I don't know all the details of all the individual allegations and what he's doing in his outside life. You have to ask him about that. Let's talk about things that are really serious. Background, go ahead.
Let's talk about things that are actually serious. Corey Mills. He was fine with having him as a colleague, but he spent more time answering that question than it would take for him to swear in Rep. Gavila. That's a fact. And this idea, this is not the only time that we have literally heard Republican leaders, including here, Mike Johnson, and including Donald Trump, and of course, Pete Hegseth and the new policy in the military, dismissing domestic violence. And it is a serious issue. The numbers are serious. And it's not just women who are victims. This intimate partner violence is quite serious for both men and women. I think men often report it less. We're actually talking about around 12 million people reporting this, at least. So to suggest that this is not an issue is offensive. And it's par for the course, because it's basically saying, I don't care about this man's violence, about Corey Mills. I don't care about his lies. He's been faithful to us. It's all about loyalty to Donald Trump. In fact, being a batterer is a feature, not a bug, because that's who Donald Trump is. He has been adjudicated a sexual abuser in the $83 million judgment, plus the other, I think it's $5 or $6 million in the E. Jean Carroll case, which he has held off and actually paying, although there are bonds in place, because he's trying to get those cases taken by the Supreme Court. Please don't take those cases. We also know that his wife, in a book she published, his now deceased first wife, Ivana, accused him of rape. I could go on and on about Donald Trump. And so having people excuse this behavior is par for the course. Now, I got more for you on this. The latest effort in trying to have people not look around and notice that the economy is tanking, right? People are losing jobs. Prices keep going up. He said groceries would go down. Energy prices are going to go up. The tariffs are backfiring. Remember, Donald Trump is the man who bankrupted several casinos. Casinos. The house always wins in gambling, not with Donald Trump. He is possibly one of the worst businessmen in the world, unless you consider the business values to be grift and making your own money while everybody loses. And for some reason, that has been his model, and people elected him. The people say, well, he's a good businessman. He's always done good for himself, well for himself at the expense of others. What makes you think he is going to think of America on his side? He looks at that Treasury Department. He looks at our money as his own piggy bank. Okay, let's listen to Brooke Rollins, Secretary of Agriculture. The new method is don't look around, blame Joe Biden. It's unbelievable, but it gives people talking points who don't want to face facts or don't have the mental capacity to know them.
And you'll hear more from me about this soon, once the government lifts and we announce the package, if it's still necessary, et cetera, is that we have to get off this hamster wheel of government payment after government payment after government payment to these farmers. They don't want these checks. They want to be able to sell their product. And every time I travel around the country, this is what I'm hearing. Obviously, we need the checks because cost of inputs under Joe Biden went up 40, 50, 60%. Fertilizer, equipment, labor, interest rates, it was nonstop. There were no new trade deals.
The reason why farmers need a bailout now is because of Trump's tariffs. It happened the first Trump administration. They need to send farmers checks and they don't want checks. And the fucking farmers know, I shouldn't call them that. The smart farmers know, all of them know it's because of the tariffs. They also know giving $40 billion to Argentina is helping them sell their crops to China while Donald Trump is in a trade war with China. That's why the farmers are failing. And that's why Donald Trump is doing these backdoor checks. And she is a lying liar who lies to blame Joe Biden.
So it's this kind of crazy compilation of all of.
It's not a crazy compilation. You are full of shit, lady. And speaking of blaming Joe Biden, Dennis Hassert, who is the director of the White House National Economic Council, was on Fox News as Maria Bartiromo. They're essentially just nodding head at whatever they say. And he also tries to blame Joe Biden. So this is pretty funny. First, Hassert says, everything's going great. And then watch what happens.
What has been the impact on the economy of this shutdown so far?
Well, so far, the economy is booming so much because of President Trump's policies that the marginal impact of the shutdown has been small.
The economy is booming so much, he says. We have the Dow's future dropping. Okay, so first he's like, it's all great. This isn't nothing. The shutdown has no effect. Okay, sure. Have you guys seen the jobs reports? These guys are lying. And it doesn't, people watch these shows and they hear him say it's good. And they go, okay, if he says so, especially younger people, especially people who just have the news on in the background and don't know what to compare it to.
We're looking at the CEA estimate says it's about $15 billion a week, which is basically, depending if they open up in a week or two, we're looking at knocking a tenth or two off of GDP.
Okay. So that's what he says. And then, even Maria Bartiromo is like, I got some numbers here, some slides. So she puts this up and then look what happens.
New nervousness this morning and certainly this week in markets, Kevin, after this credit stress fears. As you know, there's new nervous.
Okay, so before I play this clip where she is like, yeah, shit's not going great. Did I call him Dennis Hassert instead of Kevin Hassett? Okay, things aren't going great, Hassett. And if you notice, the ticker across the bottom here says no King's protest being tied to shutdown. Again, thank you, Fox News. Okay, let's play this.
This morning and certainly this week in markets, Kevin, after this credit stress fears rattled the regional banking sector. As you know, Zions and Western Alliance both disclosed issues in borrower fraud.
Okay, so the financial sector is leading a market sell-off. How's he going to deal with that?
Zions reported a $50 million loss last quarter. Western Alliance is now suing a borrower, it says, to recover nearly $100 million. Even Jeffries falling, tied to the bankrupt auto parts maker First Brands, now under DOJ investigation. And as you know, Jamie Dimon from J.P. Morgan has been warning of credit market excesses after a string of auto sector bankruptcies. What do you make of this, Kevin? Are these isolated fractures, or are these signs of a deeper stress in the economy right now with regard to credit?
Well, right now, the banking sector has very ample reserves. But one of the things that I think has spooked markets is that they've realized, looking at these two anecdotes this week, that the Biden administration, like everything, was asleep at the wheel on banking regulation. We had an almost serious crisis with SVB, and we've got other things that are kind of like messes that the Bidens left us.
Oh, my God. He's blaming the Biden administration for the failure and bailout of Silicon Valley Bank, which was largely due to crypto. I don't want to get into the nuances here. The same people who pushed through the Genius Act, which is going to create more fault lines, more risk because of crypto. These fucking liars. Guys, I mean, one day not my next book, because hopefully all this doesn't fall apart by the time that's out, I'm going to have to explain this. And it pains me. It pains me that these folks can lie. It also pains me that, and I think you've heard me say this, the leadership of the Democratic Party, I'm looking at Chuck Schumer, as well as Kristen Gillibrand, that wing who supported this, who supported the crypto legislation I'm talking about, need to go, right? They need to go. But, this is the story. Okay.
No,
so again,
but
it's blame Biden, but I got some good news. Here. Last night there was the mayoral debate in New York, and there are 3 candidates in the race now, which is, as you probably know, the lead, who is polling at over 50%, is the Democratic candidate Zohran Mamdani. Then we have the former governor of New York, now running to be mayor of New York, Andrew Cuomo, on the independent ticket, and the Republican candidate Curtis Sliwa, a longtime New York character, former semi-vigilante guardian angel guy riding the subways. Interesting character. All 3 on the stage. Let me show you Mamdani nailing it. Let's go.
Free buses. Mr. Mamdani, this is a centerpiece of your campaign. Can you explain how you will make buses free? You have 30 seconds to answer.
Absolutely. We will make buses free by replacing the revenue that the MTA currently gets from buses. This is revenue that's around $700 million or so. That's less money than Andrew Cuomo gave to Elon Musk in $959 million in tax credits when he was the governor. And the reason that we will do so is that making buses free doesn't just provide economic relief, but also public safety. Because what we've seen is that it decreases assaults on bus drivers by 38.9%. New Yorkers deserve more than the slowest buses in the country. I know.
What did you think of that? It gets better. Oh my gosh. I got another. Now this is Cuomo trying to stand up for himself, and you see how that goes.
Built affordable housing all across this nation. I built affordable housing in this city when I was in my 20s. I know how to get it done. I will get it done on the rent-stabilized units. What I'm saying is those are the precious units, and we
You're out
should,
of time. I'm sorry,
we should
Mr.
keep
Cuomo.
them for
We
the
didn't get an
most
answer to the
rent
question.
burden.
We have to move on. But I have a question for you.
No, sorry, he invoked me for much of that question. Just a very brief response here.
Very brief.
You know, you've heard it from Andrew Cuomo that the number one crisis in this city, the housing crisis, the answer is to evict my wife and I. He thinks you address this crisis by unleashing my landlord's ability to raise my rent. If you think that the problem in this city is that my rent is too low, vote for him. If you know the problem in this city is that your rent is too high, vote for me.
If I understand it correctly,
Sons of millionaires.
Mr. Cuomo,
I mean, guys. Anyway, if you get a chance, there are lots of clips out there. I didn't watch it live, but I'm tempted to watch the whole debate. I'm not fond of seeing a dead body on stage, so I don't think I could stomach it, but it was pretty bad for Cuomo. Now, obviously, there's some other huge things in the news, money and law wise. Let me first talk with you about some legal issues. You probably heard there was a major Supreme Court argument this week involving what's left of the Voting Rights Act, and I think you've probably heard lots of people talking about how at the very top level, it appears that the United States Supreme Court is going to further gut the statute in order to, and as a result, and again, I'm speaking at a very high level, as a result of a decision could impact even as early as the 2026 midterms, but at the very least, the 2028 election. And I think there's so many ways to go into the weeds, but instead, let's put this in context. And the person who I think does an amazing job of putting these issues in context is Robert Reich, former Secretary of Labor and professor. If you are part of the younger crowd, you may know, like by younger, I mean like my kid's age, you know Robert Reich because his son, Sam Reich, runs an incredible network called Dropout TV, including the show Game Changer, which I happen to love. Okay, let's play this.
The Supreme Court has been busy granting corporations more power to influence elections. They've been stripping actual people of their power to influence elections. In 2013, the Supreme Court gutted the 1965 Voting Rights Act in Shelby County versus Holder. The conservative justice's ruling stripped the pre-clearance requirement that states with a history of voter suppression must receive clearance from the federal government before enacting any new voting laws. The court essentially ruled that the racial voter suppression that the Voting Rights Act was intended to guard against no longer existed. In the years since, the very same states that were previously subjected to pre-clearance have passed a wave of voter suppression laws. Unsurprisingly, these laws disproportionately affect voters of color.
Okay. This is our context here. And what they're trying to do in this case in Louisiana is make it representation in Congress such that we will have states where, such as Louisiana, where like 30% of the population is Black, but there will be no representatives in Congress from any districts with minority majority representation. And this is where we're headed.
Supreme Court has.
Like everything else, the only answer to this is if it's possible, right? This is possible when there is a Republican or a Democratic president to expand the court. The problem was Joe Biden should have done that right away. But if you play back history, you know that if he had done that, the Republicans would yell at him and say he was trying to be a king or a fascist, even though he wouldn't do it on his own. Congress could have done that with him. The problem is when you have the levers of power, such as when Joe Biden did as president or Merrick Garland did as attorney general, you have to look what you're up against. They somehow underestimated Donald Trump, the man who tried to stage a violent self-coup to stay in office. They actually thought, okay, it will just stop. He won't continue. This is the biggest mistake that we can make. Now, the good news is there are people like Pritzker, Governor Pritzker, who are saying what we need to hear. The only way I believe any Republicans can become president of this country or take the majority in the Senate and the House is if they're 100% clear about accountability. And I don't mean petty revenge, going after political enemies, digging up bullshit on people, such as, and we'll talk about this in a moment, yesterday's indictment of a third Donald Trump enemy, in this case, John Bolton. I am talking about a wholesale accountability project of the ilk after Enron, of the ilk that we absolutely need. We cannot continue this way, and no one wants to just move on, because there is no moving on without accountability. So let me play you what Pritzker had to say about Stephen Miller.
People who serve for the president, including all the way down to ICE agents, can be held accountable when there's a change of administration who's willing to hold them accountable when they break the law. Now, Stephen Miller is clearly ordering people to break the law. So, he should know that, it may be 3 years from now that he is held accountable, but make sure, I think it's important for them to know that whatever they do now, it's not like we're going to forget, and it's not like we don't have a record of what they're doing. So that is why I mentioned Stephen Miller. That's why I mentioned other people, Tom Homan and Gregory Bavino, who's the CBP leader on the ground, the one who executed their orders in Los Angeles, which was, they did an awful job in Los Angeles and created all kinds of mayhem on the ground. Now he's doing it in Chicago. And so all these people need to recognize that, you may have immunity because Donald Trump's willing to pardon anybody that's carrying out his unlawful orders, but you're not going to have it under another administration.
And Donald Trump won't pardon everybody all at once. There will be people who will be held accountable. They'll be too low level to get preemptive pardons, and then they will be prosecuted. Now, some good news also out of Chicago. I don't know if you heard this, but the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals affirmed that the National Guard could not be federalized, right, in Illinois. So I want to share this with you. Hold on one second. See if I can get this. Okay. Let me play this for you because this was huge breaking news, and I think you'll like to hear it, not just from me, telling you, but this was all over the news yesterday with the Seventh Circuit slapping back the Trump administration's effort or having the National Guard. Remember, they were sending them in from Texas, right, into Illinois. Hold on one second. Let me share my screen. Okay, and from any state. Okay, here we go.
Breaking news this afternoon, a federal appeals court has denied a request from the Trump administration on the National Guard in Illinois. Last week, a federal judge issued a temporary restraining order blocking the deployment of troops here. The Trump administration requested a stay of the court order as they appeal the ruling. But today, the appeals court is leaving that order in place, meaning the National Guard cannot be deployed for now.
So that's huge, right? We've got these protests coming up tomorrow, including in Illinois. So we've got to keep having faith in some of the courts. Now, of course, we'll see what the United States Supreme Court has to say about this, if they choose to have something to say about this. Now, let's talk about what's going on with John Bolton. I'll share with you a quick look at what that indictment looks like, and then I'll give you the bottom line here. Let's blow this up to fit one page. Oops, full screen. Okay, so this was the indictment from yesterday. It was out of Maryland, as you probably know, not out of the Virginia, the Eastern District of Virginia. So this was an indictment. And the various counts you can see on the right-hand side. You can see above this was an indictment from 2025, October 16 at 4:22 p.m. That was yesterday, and the 16th, as I said. And so what you can see here is the allegations are transmission of national defense information, retention of national defense information, and then they have these forfeiture allegations or forfeiture demands of these documents. Now, Abby Lowell, who is the attorney for John Bolton, basically says, this is bullshit. That these are really old documents with pretty much no value, and it doesn't make a lot of sense. But of course, this is basically Donald Trump on his kind of Oprah Winfrey. You get an indictment. You get an indictment. You get an indictment. And I think this is going to backfire on him. Tish James, as you know, was indicted the other day on some trumped up mortgage charges. And where was she seen last? At a major Zohran Mamdani rally. People are not afraid of Donald Trump. And the more, I know that this, on the one hand, it's terrifying, you might say, to see him do this. Well, guys, he said he was going to do this, and he did it. And I was afraid back when I voted for Kamala Harris. But we are here in this burgeoning authoritarian state. That is actually where we are. And I want to add that the graft is pretty flippin' serious. I want to talk more about the money in the grift. As you know, Aaron Rupert was the person, I believe, who was able to, I think Aaron got on hot mic, or there was reporting. I'm not sure if it was Aaron who reported. I'm trying to remember. I know I saw it on his feed of Donald Trump caught on camera talking with a foreign leader about business his sons were meeting with him about, right? And that's not great. And when he was actually asked about this, essentially Eric Trump did not deny that he was engaged in all kinds of business, but that he believed there was a huge wall. So this was his dad, his father, Donald Trump, speaking with the president of Indonesia. So let me, I want to share this with you. I'm just going to share with this screen with you. It'll be easier than a download. This is Aaron Rupert, who you should follow on Blue Sky, his feed. Okay, here we go. And I'm playing it now.
I was just in the Middle East with your dad. He obviously brokered the ceasefire in Gaza, was there meeting with a bunch of world leaders on what the future of that is going to look like in the phase 2 of that agreement and how to implement that. There was a moment where he was speaking with the president of Indonesia. It got a lot of attention. I know you've seen this, but I want everyone else to see this as well.
Thank you. That's what I told Harry also. I told Harry. They look for better place.
He said, I'll tell Eric to call you.
Yeah, all of you.
I like that. We don't need.
And he said, we'll look for a better place. To do what? For the meeting or to build something? And then Trump says, I'll have one of them call. Thank you. I like you told me that. We don't need that.
Obviously, there are investment projects happening in Indonesia. First off, have you heard from the president? Has he called you?
No, not about that. But I'm glad he acknowledges that I'm a good boy. I am a good boy.
He said, no, not about that. But it sounds like he spoke with him about other issues.
We have two of the biggest projects in Indonesia. We've signed those in 2014, 2015, respectively. We've got a great project in Bali. We've been working on it for a decade. We've got a great project right outside Jakarta, a great golf course that I operate every single day. Incredibly proud of it. It's probably the greatest course in the region. And so I'm honored that the president knows about it and clearly asks about it, because they're probably two of the most consequential real estate projects, obviously, in the region. That started before my father's first presidency, before my father first even won, probably before he actually.
That's not the point. The point is, he said back in 2016, when everyone was, even before he took office, after he was elected, that he was going to have nothing to do with these businesses.
Started campaigning. And so I'm honored that he knows about it. I've never met the president of Indonesia, but it doesn't surprise me, given the magnitude and prominence of those projects, that he knows about what I'm doing over there.
For people who see that moment and say, well, there's supposed to be, this wall between the president and his business and what's happening, as you described it, a big wall that was put in place, and he's not supposed to be involved in the day-to-day activities. Yeah. I mean, what does it say when a world leader clearly thinks he is and is asking, it seemed in reference to that, and asking to get in touch with you?
I think there's a huge wall. I mean, there's so much of a wall that the guy's never met.
That's not the wall we're talking about, Eric. It's the wall between your father and this. The conversation at an important meeting indicates, play ball with me, do what I want, and I will be helpful to you. That, kind of a problem. Now, she also pushed in on crypto. And of course, when he asked about, when Caitlin Collins asked, how do you determine whether something's a conflict of interest? He claims that he has ethics advisors and they take them seriously. And then he complains about Nancy Pelosi. Okay, now I got another that I want to share with you. This is also on CNN. This is a question about the very legislation I've been complaining about. And Caitlin Collins asks Eric, do you and your family benefit from the highly controversial crypto legislation? And let me pull this up for you. Here we go.
Easing the restrictions on the crypto industry, would you acknowledge that your family has benefited from those changes?
I mean, Caitlin, all of our crypto ventures started when we were in courthouses. I mean, you were often sitting next to me on those wooden pews in front of Mershon and Ngoran. And we were literally working in the crypto industry in those days when everybody gave us zero chance of actually winning. They said we had no shot, and it was much more likely that we were all going to get put in jail for doing absolutely nothing, hence under siege, right? Then be back in the White House. So, no, I think one has nothing to do with the other. I think, crypto is modern day finance.
That was not an answer to his question. The question. She said, are you benefiting from these legal changes? He doesn't answer, and he says, I've been involved in this crypto when my father was in court being prosecuted or being, and then Gorin case was the Tish James civil case for fraud. And he said, we've been involved in this since then. Okay, that doesn't answer the question. They were involved, but then they got the legal changes, and everything changed when the change happened and the stablecoin world opened up. He says it's not related. I don't know how the cases against his father are related or not, but he just wanted to flash his book. That is what that is about. And yes, Roberta, it is him doing that lying weave. Now, friends, we need to shift the focus to how amazing tomorrow is going to be, because I can't even begin to tell you how excited I am about what is next. And so, I want to, before I get to putting my costume on, I want to give you one positive thing that maybe Rep. Hakeem Jeffries is getting the message, and he is showing some spine. So let's listen to him just now talking about the expectation that the new member of Congress from Arizona, right, that she is actually sworn in, that Rep. Grijalva deserves this. Okay, let us share that with you. And then I'm going to start getting ready in my costume. Here we go.
You are demanding that Grijalva be sworn in this afternoon. If she is not, what are you planning on doing? And are you going to be demanding that Grijalva be sworn in this afternoon? If she is not, what are you planning on doing? And are you going to be there for the performance?
All options are on the table.
Here. Okay. I know this looks really, oh my God. I got this. You'll see. Okay. I think we need some crazy town music. What do you say? Okay. I think we need some crazy town music. Let's play it as I try to get my costume on. It's going to be really, really fabulous. Okay, hold on. Guys, this is going to be good. Just give me a moment. Are you with me? Okay, hold on. There's a process. I'm going to have to zip up the back, you'll see, and then turn the fan on. This music is going to drive you a little crazy, so I'm going to turn it down. So there's like a zipper. Oh, there it is. Okay. Hold on. I swear this was easier to do. I need some help. Well, hold on. Okay. I got it. I'm bad with the Sorry. I should have done this with someone in the room with me. Well. Guys, I think you're just going to have to trust me. I think you're just going to have to absolutely trust me. That is just, I just need someone to help me zip it up, but it's kind of cute, right? So I am going to actually try to be wearing this, and I'm going to later put up, I'm not going to, this is my actually framed woodcut. I don't know if I can carry around a fuck fascism poster at the same time I am wearing this costume and trying to film. But a girl can try. And so I just love you guys. I really wanted this to blow up for the show. But, you know, it is what it is. I didn't want to sit here and I don't want to rip that, tear this vinyl and the plastic, but you get the idea. There's a blower fan inside and all these things, these tentacles fill up. Like I can hide this like tentacle here and all the ones, I don't know if there's actually 8 of them. I don't think it's an authentic costume. They all fill up. I'm going to be wearing, I think, like some pink, Jordans, high tops. And, I'll do my best to represent my joyful warrior spirit. And I will be taking video and images from the scenes in Detroit tomorrow. Our rally isn't until 3 p.m. So please, I'm going to put a space up on YouTube in our chat area. And I'm just trying to think of how I can get people to be able to post their own images there. But in the meantime, my friends, I'm going to share with you now, because I think you have seen it before, what this will actually look like when it's all said and done, right? This was me this weekend here posing in the outfit. And that is, if you can imagine, that's how it's going to look. What I would encourage you to do if you are planning for an inflatable or for just a poster, get yourself ready, do a dry run. In my instance, I think I actually have to drive to this rally, so I won't wear my costume inflated as I drive, but I'll have someone at the other end, one of my cousin who is meeting with me, help me. But I'm going to find a way for us. I'm going to put up a link so folks can upload to a drive your photos. I'm going to figure out how to do this. So over the weekend on Sunday or Saturday or Sunday after your rally, if you upload your photos, I will share them on Monday on our show. And with that, no further ado, thank you to all of you, especially my wonderful mods, Dab, AJ, and Jason. And here is Jason's music.
Hello, prison mates. It's the Gen Taub Show. Well, welcome everyone. Let's learn about what is happening in politics yesterday and today. There was hope, and we are together in this democracy we work for. And again, welcome to the Gen Taub Show. Hello, prison mates. It's the Gen Taub Show. Well, welcome everyone. Let's learn about what is happening in politics yesterday and today. There was hope, and we are together in this democracy we work for. And again, welcome to the Gen Taub Show. Hello, prison mates. It's the Gen Taub Show. Well, welcome everyone. Let's learn about what is happening in politics yesterday and today. There was hope, and we are together in this democracy we work for. And again, welcome to the Gen Taub Show.